Hey guys, welcome to the Heady Chronicle show. I'm your host, Dan Ulloa, editor and publisher of Heady and Jay. We cover New Jersey cannabis news about politics, business, and culture. So we were happy to hold our South Jersey Canna Blooming party recently, and we had a lot of fun there. Hope everybody had a good time. Believe they did. Unfortunately, we had a couple technical problems. These things happen. I'm trying to be a writer. Show business is hard, trying to do all these things. But, we still wanted to highlight our fellow New Jersey cannabis content creators, Preston Vincent of New Jersey Dispensary Reviews, Peter the Bucket Man, and of course, dispensary guy, Mike Wheel. They all do a great job, entertaining and informing people. And, they spoke briefly. We also had Michelle Santos of Canna coverage and minorities for medical marijuana. She explained her role in advocacy and the value of insurance. So I was then hosted a panel, with the organizing director of the UFCW Labor Union, Local 360 there, Hugh Giordano, great guy, and as well as Scott Rudder. He's the New Jersey Canna Business Association past president and the Township Green Dispensary CEO. It's a good amount of titles. So we did record that properly, mostly. So I still want to show you guys that. Still wanted to thank first though the UFCW for letting us use their beautiful hall, Local 360. Great guys there. We also want to thank DJ. It's all good, and our food vendor, Stoop Dog. We had great sponsors with the cannabis manufacturer Jersey Smooth. We also had support of Illicit, which makes premium craft cannabis for those who value quality, authenticity, and culture. We also got to thank Bar Canna for their great setup, making sure everybody had fun with Loud Labs and Bosque Labs. And I also wanted to thank Liza and Brandon of Vibes Rolling Papers. We also had the support of Post Marketing Agency and the upcoming delivery service, Scarlet Express. We're also happy to be collaborating with the Exchange. They're holding a great cannabis business networking convention. It's going to be August 12th to 13th at the East Brunswick Hilton. So we also had great sponsors with Canna Caviar, which just won at MJ Unpacked with their great vapes and pre-rolls. And we have the drink maker High Tide to thank. From our Heady team, I also wanted to thank for example, the great artist, event promoter, entrepreneur Mario Ramos of I Bud You and Con Bud Bronx, and his lovely wife Chelsea Butner of Puff Cards. I also want to thank my freelancers, Katina, Jecce Harriot, my remote operations coordinator Jay, and my very lovely wife Jody, who could not make it unfortunately that day. So enjoy the rest of the show, guys. Hope you do. Also, you should sign up for us on our newsletter and find us on social media at Heady_on J. Our newsletter is the weekly Heady Chronicle now. And, HeadyandJ.com is where you can find all the news that you need to know about New Jersey cannabis.
I got one of our OG board members here, Vice President Marianne Bays. I founded that, and then I've been involved with the cannabis industry for a long time. I had clients, and actually, 1 second about Hugh for a second. So when I formed the New Jersey Cannabis Association, one of the reasons why I founded that was there was representation and a voice for patients, and through the Coalition of Medical Marijuana in New Jersey, and there was a voice for social justice with the New Jersey United for Marijuana Reform. There wasn't anything for the business side, and I really wanted to be involved in some place in this industry. And we started moving forward, but it was actually a partnership with a union. The Business Association partnering with the union is what helped get the job done. So one of the things I'm really proud of is our relationship and our partnership. Yeah! And then after all that stuff was going on, and we got cannabis legalized, I decided to throw my hat in the ring, and I pursued a license on my own. So I owned a dispensary. It's called Township Green, located in Riverside, New Jersey, South Jersey, Burlington County. Amazing store, amazing staff. You're going to love it when you stop by. TownshipGreen.com. Yeah!
Well, hello, everybody. First off, I want to say thank you so much for coming to the hall today and hanging out with us. this is exactly what the Union Hall is about. It's about community, it's about getting together, it's about humanizing each other. There's lots of different folks in this room, from business to law to workers to patients. So it's nice to get everybody together, and I appreciate you being here. So give a round of applause to yourself. So my name is Hugh Giordano. I am the Director of Organizing for the UFCW Local 360. I have been with the union for over a decade, 2 decades at this point. It's going on 26 years. I have been fighting for workers since the age of 16 when I organized my job. I was a little Ralph Nader revolution there, and I've been with it ever since. I got involved with cannabis a little around 20 years ago in 2010. So in regards to the medical bill being passed, that's how I met the Coalition of Medical Marijuana, who was the original OGs before any of us. And I've been in the fight ever since. Representation is important. Just like Scott said, patients had representation, the business had representation. We wanted to make sure that workers had that representation too, that it was an equal playing field for everybody, that we could all gain value from our knowledge and hard work, be able to take care of our families, whether that was a small business owner or the person working 40 plus hours a week as a bartender or working in trim for 40 plus hours a week. We wanted to make sure that everybody had a victory. And that was the goal of the UFCW and the goal of my mission as an individual, to make sure that folks could eat. And so I really appreciate this, and I want to thank Heady and Jay for even considering coming to the Union Hall and hanging out with us. Union Hall is always open for you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, great guys here. It's always been interesting. Me being like a writer, low-key advocate. I was part of the coalition, but ultimately got it done as part of the Latino Action Network. It's really great. I'm Peruvian. It's a long story. But yeah, so let's talk about this. We've got this thing. We have we're this many years out from this 7 years, 8 years, 9 years from some of us. So what are some of the great opportunities that exist for people now that did not exist?
Sure. Yeah, thanks, Scott. Well, I think the opportunity has grown because now there's more facilities, if we keep it simplistic. Before, it was a very tight community, very few employers. So if you got a job as a bud tender or you got a job in the cultivation site, you weren't leaving. But now with adult use, folks have more opportunity in that regard. Also, the education system in New Jersey has changed. You got Rowan, you got Stockton, you got Rutgers invested. You have community college that are investing in this education. We have folks in this room who are graduating soon enough with degrees. So it's just going to continue to grow, but I think those are the obvious simplistic things that are happening.
Yeah, I think there's the whole world is transforming as we speak, right? So AI and all these other innovations and all these things happening. And I think, I couldn't tell you what the amazing new opportunity is, because whatever we think it is today is going to be different tomorrow. And I would just say this, getting smart on this subject and being ready to work in different categories and being ready to be flexible. You're going to have to want to be flexible, because it's whatever you're doing today, if you're in this industry, whether you're budtending or you're on the cultivation side, manufacturing side, there's going to be jobs there, but there's going to be different jobs too. So there's going to be different jobs that are here today are going to be different tomorrow. So I think, for the biggest thing for anybody who wants to get involved in this industry is just to go in with the understanding that you need to be flexible, and you need to be, you need just to go with the way that technology is going, but get smart on it. Don't wait for it to impact you. Understand it first before it impacts you.
Nice. It's an interesting point about the nature of AI. It's intense. It's always interesting, as a business person, it's difficult. Sometimes if you love it, you can figure these things out. Sometimes you have these crazy trends that impact you not so good about. But let's get to the market. What about the market now here in New Jersey are you happiest about? Where it's yes, this is great that we have this now.
Well, I gotta tell you, what I really love is the diversity of product that we're seeing there. The diversity of product is really amazing in New Jersey. And I'm gonna give you a real world example. My mother, who is in Florida, right? So Florida's got this massive industry and all these other things. I can't say what I guess because I'm being filmed here, I can't really say exactly, but somehow magically she gets edibles from time to time. I don't know how it happens, right? And then summertime happens and they show up melted, right? So that's sort of obvious after the first 2 times I did that, or somebody did that, or whatever, delivery. So my brother, who lives 3 hours away, I was like, look, just go to Mom's, go to stop the local Curaleaf that's down there, and go get her some edibles, and I'll help you guide if you have any questions. There is no diversity of product in freaking Florida. It is THC and maybe CBD. The CBN, the CBGs, everything that people are coming out there right now to look for, you're going to find it in New Jersey. You're not finding it in these other limited markets. And particularly with being a medical-only state, that really, really bothers me. I'm offended on behalf of patients down in Florida that you have this industry there that does not offer a variety of products to deal with different conditions and different symptoms. We have that in New Jersey, and it's getting better all the time, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen next.
I have to second that. I mean, I don't have much more to add on that. I think the only thing that I'm excited about is seeing more small business owners, more people of color, more women have an opportunity to get in. We're starting to release more licenses in that realm. But I think the back of the house is absolutely right, having more products, which equal more jobs, which is great to see. So, yes.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point. It's definitely one of the things that is great about 2026, that we do have all these products. We do have High Tides here. We do have Canna Caviar here. It's very interesting brands that didn't exist. Even 2023, when the market opened with the independent adult use market versus we had a lot of these MSOs. That's where Florida's heavy, the multi-state operators. It's very corporate that way if you're not at a smoke shop that way, which is difficult for the grandmas. So we have made progress in Jersey, and it is fun, to be here. We have you have a dispensary, people are up, but it is hard, and a lot's going on, and it's tumultuous times. So, what areas of this industry would you like to really see the most improvement?
I mean, there's a couple things. I mean, one is safety, not only safety for patients, but also safety for the workers. Making sure that they have safe work environments. If we have mold and mildew and all that stuff in there, it's going to not only hurt the workers, it's going to hurt the patients, which hurts working class people. So that is one thing I still think needs to be improved. But I'm happy to see also that we're seeing improvements with workers here in New Jersey. We're seeing employers that are now paying decent wages, that are providing some health care, things that are important to working class people. And I think we continue to do well on that. But those are the things that I want to see continue to improve.
I think some of the biggest improvements we need to see happen in New Jersey is deregulation. Right now, we are so overregulated, and it's kind of silly. All these security measures we have, and all the process of tracking products from the cultivator to manufacturer to the end user, the dispensary operator, and then to the end user, it's just dramatically expensive and very, very unnecessary today. I think when we were talking about legalization before, you had all these safeguards, and we had all these things that were in place to make legislators and decision makers comfortable with this. But now that we're seeing this operational, people aren't getting shot up all over the place, all these things aren't happening. You literally have to drive around a beer truck in the street where I operate. You have to drive around this big, huge beer truck with one dude with thousands of cases of beer in there. He just leaves it there, and he does his job, and no one steals it. It's amazing how that can happen, right? So that's happening right now in the cannabis industry. Well, rather, it can be happening right now in the cannabis industry. It's not. And so a lot of the costs that are associated with the purchase of a product is based on all the different expenses that the operators had to do to get there, to get to the end user, to get to that customer. So there's a lot of regulations that are in place right now that need to be pulled back. There's a lot of safety regulations that are there, that are necessary, need to stay there, testing, is a big, huge part of it, making sure we don't have bacteria and other compounds that are in the cannabis plant and other products. So yeah, 100% we need to deregulate.
Nice, those are good points. It's definitely like big issues that we've been covering, you know, product quality, and then like the red tape for the small business people. It's really difficult. We get some companies, you know, maybe they need like a lot of regulation and they're really big and have like lots of money and like are able to like influence processes. And then like, you know, we hear stories about them, and it's difficult when you hear like a bad story. And a lot of people tell me bad stories. You can't tell everybody's story, you know, that way. I got a big mouth, it seems. So yeah, no, I think that we want to wrap it up. Thank you, Hugh and Scott.
All right.
Yeah, guys. Oh yeah, does anybody have a question? This should be good. You know, we have a lot coming out. We have like great experts here. This is literally like the guy, like the forefront of like the people. It would be like you, Bill, like Lefty, Ken, you know, like a few others that have been there a while.
So for like we the people who care about this, what can we do to help this process?
That's a good question. The question was, what can we do to help the process, political process, perhaps?
So there's coming this fall. There's going to be an initiative led by different organizations, the NJCBA being one of them, and it's going to be reform packages. So we're developing that as we speak. And I think the biggest thing for you guys to do is continue to pay attention to all these different outlets that are here right now. Pay attention to them. They're the ones who are going to be reporting what's going to be going on, when there's going to be hearings, and then that's the biggest part, is like showing up and being there and contacting your own legislators. And that is a huge thing. When we were going down the legalization path, we produced letters. We would write letters for people, and you would go onto our website, you would click, and bam, a letter went out to the assemblyman and the 2 assembly members and the senator and all that stuff. So just pay attention. It's going to be happening this fall. So that's the biggest thing you do, is making sure your voice is heard and it's loud.
You know, absolutely. And I think also you want to go, if you're not opted in, start going to your council meetings, speaking to your council president, your mayor. That's a big issue, because a lot of these companies can't even get open doors because there's not enough facilities or areas that have opted in. So I think that's a big thing. There's only a little over 30%, right, that have opted in. So that means you have another 70% that are just sitting there, and over 2,000 conditional licenses. So I think that's something you can do. But also you should Scott is absolutely right. You got to start in the politics side of it. Start a small community group, knock on doors, get the voter list, go to the people that you think will be open to it, and start putting pressure on them. That's exactly what you got to do. Scott's absolutely right.
And we got to get homegrown. We got to get homegrown done, right? So we got to get that done. Again, you got to stay motivated. You have to stay motivated. Sometimes it's so disheartening. If you've been around the block for a long time, it gets so disheartening. There's so many other priorities that are going on in this state, in your local communities. The cannabis is sort of this thing that's flying around out there, but the impact it has on somebody's life, and somebody's health care and their welfare is very, very significant. I love what you said, Michelle. You're going to be a big part of all this stuff too. I mean, just having that kind of innovation out there right now, companies that are trying to figure out how I can get it so that it's very affordable for patients if they're going to buy something. Not everybody, even when we have homegrown, not all patients are going to have the ability or desire to grow. They're going to want to get something simple from their local dispensary, right? But home grow for patients, having access to your own personal health care is critical. So that is definitely something that keep paying attention to, because that fight's not over.
And I just want to make it clear that even on the worker side or the union, we support medical home grow as well. We think it'll create jobs. A lot of folks say, "Oh, it'll take jobs away." No, it won't, because someone has to do the clones in the back of the house. Somebody has to sell the clone in the front of the house. Someone has to drive those clones to a facility to be sold. And on top of all the other things that you could sell for those, we think that it definitely is something that needs to pass. It should have passed, 15 years ago. But it'll be a job creator too on top of that.
Yeah.
Nice. Yes, thank you, Scott, for the endorsement of home grow. It's a big issue. We've always been for it, along with descheduling cannabis, taking it off a CSA, but that's a long story about that. We have a question, though, from Mike here. Yes.
cancer survivor and chronic pain patient, something very important, especially getting rid of these concentrates, so like rosin, that availability of that product really huge. With that, we're losing the spot, so the medical program across tens of thousands of patients since our stabilization, and understanding why those patients left the most important cannabis policy question in New Jersey today. Testified to CRC, and one of those was sensory legalization of that 130,000 patients as of May 6th, 2046. Across 82,000 patients for 40 years. And not everybody went to the legacy market. Not everybody got to do it. In case you didn't run away and find a cable and pick it up. So, for New Jersey, and my question, my testimony to CRC here was, what's your plan on bringing them back? What's the plan on bringing them back?
Okay, that's a good question. Then we have Mike Brennan of the Coalition of Medical Marijuana in New Jersey, asking about the medical cannabis patient numbers, and that's really difficult to track, because we are very much down. But then, like, the nature of bringing them back is like a very interesting question, because why do I need to if I had other medicines, do I need to sign up for any red tape? I myself, I was a medical cannabis patient. I do have a lot of issues, man. I'm stressed. I got stomach issues. It's intense. It's a long story. We don't think about that. Hear about my issues. But that's the thing I'm saying. Now that I was a medical patient, and now I get my medicine over the counter, OTC, from all sorts of places, all sorts of dispensaries that have good stuff. I think CBGs. Now we have a diverse market. It's easier. It is very difficult, when we do have patients that really need their strength. This is why we need home grows. If I needed the terribly named green crack, it really helps with CBG. If that's what I need, and it doesn't sell enough weed, or a store that wants to make money. We were saying about sometimes it's hard to be a small businessman with red tape, competition, etc., etc. It's really difficult because we do care about patients, and I think I saw RSO, Rick Simpson oil, the strongest thing. If I really had somebody that was dying, I would say Rick Simpson oil, RSO. You need a guy? I know a guy. You want to see a dispensary? I found it in a New Jersey adult use dispensary. And I'm saying this is medicine for fucking cancer. Oh, excuse the French. We even had a guy, he's a South Jersey boy. I should have invited him. I haven't even seen him in a minute. Patrick Duff. Cured cancer, or treated his cancer, is in remission. God bless you, Patrick W. Lovable guy. Fellow longtime activists like Hugh. We were saying like Mike here, Duff. But what do you guys think then about these medical issues?
So I think, so Michael, I think you lost a lot of patients. The program lost a lot of patients because they lost somebody like me, right? So I don't need to be a patient anymore. I don't have serious medical issues, but I had issues enough that I went and got my medical card. But now I don't need to. So it's sort of did I need a medical card or a prescription for Advil? No, I don't. I can just go in and get the Advil. But if you have something more specific, I think once we start to see insurance getting more involved in this, then you're going to start to see more people becoming patients again. And I also think why do I spend $200 for the right of buying something, right? That's just it needs to be rolled up into our overall insurance program. And once you can start to do, a $15 copay for that ounce that you need, then it's truly affordable healthcare. So, and again, as a dispensary operator, things are going to evolve, and I don't know that there's going to be such a proliferation of adult use dispensaries that for it to, when insurance does get involved, the state has to recognize that a lot of these adult use dispensaries can simply get a medical designation, pass some certification process, make sure there's some educational component for to train the staff, but it should be something simpler so that almost immediately, patients will have access to their local dispensary rather than driving, as they currently have to do, for an hour just to go to a medical place, right? So I think once insurance gets involved, once Michelle gets more deeply involved, I think, that's when you're going to see that transformation. And again, it's the acceptance of it. The stigma is still there for a lot of people. That stigma is still there. So I have, in my family, I have a child and my mother who are involved, who have medical issues and are medical patients. So that's part of we talk about the culture and the cannabis community. That cannabis community now includes patients who are young and patients who are old and everybody in between.
I got it. I thought you were done. Okay, it's kind of a question, a part statement. I was real happy finally when Jake's Law got passed, and all of a sudden it was recognized that this was medicine, cannabis, and New Jersey does not tax medicine, never did until cannabis, even though New Jersey said cannabis medically shall be treated on par with prescription concerns as far as we do things, and it never really got done that way. So when it finally became aware, yes, this is it. And by the way, the Division of Taxation was all in favor of a bill that, because they run bills by them that have to do with taxation.
Right.
And omitting that entirely. So the Division of Taxation didn't want to collect it for the right reasons, but it was getting collected for, well, do I need to describe what reasons? Well, here's the insult to injury to patients. Why was it phased out? Phased out? No, we need that 2% more than you do. After a patient running out of medicine, that 2% was a day and a half of medicine, perhaps, to them. So they stole patients' medicine for what? What happened to that? On top of all that, they kept it in the end. I want my money back. How do we go about that? Or doing something for cannabis patients, because it's a matter of record. It's not that hard to find out. If not, to be given back to me in the form of a voucher to get the medicine back that was stolen from me. Well, if it's too difficult, we can't, because then we have to, and that would mean, if it's that, how about donating it to something that helps patients, because I don't want the state to have it. They never should have had it, and they knew it, and I was the one that made sure that Wikipedia got that one straight.
Nice.
It became known that, except for cannabis. And, that's an insult that really needs to be rectified.
Okay, so we have longtime activist here, Jim Miller, describing issues with medical cannabis. Oh yeah, Jim is like the OG who inspires the people that inspire other people that now we're here, by the way, guys. Think about that this way, it's always interesting in that way. But yeah, to say the question dealing with medical cannabis being taxed by the government, how do we change that? What do we do?
Well, we give it back. How do we do it?
How do we get it back? I guess the legislation ideally would be is what I would say, but then it's a very difficult thing.
So,
in the nature of the name of our friend outside, Ratari.
This is where having a formerly assemblyman there, the advice is going to be very valuable. And
that's true. Scott, we forgot to mention that.
What I'm saying, I mean, you would know.
There's no pressure, Jim. Thanks.
And if it's undoable, and you said, well, there's reasons why that would be almost impossible. Yes, I'm also flexible. I agree with that you got to learn to be flexible. And I'm fine with that when somebody that has more information than me, tells me something like that, I'm able to change direction. So help me out, son.
all right, so I wish I had a really solid answer, and I don't want this to sound weaselly at all. So getting money out of Trenton is really, really hard. Trenton's really good at taking the money in. It's not really good at putting it back, right? So that would be hard. But I love what you said about the voucher thing. So I don't think, again, things are evolutionary. They're incremental. It takes time, and people just getting to understand it. I like the voucher thing that you said. There could be, I don't know when, probably not this year, maybe next year, I have no idea when, but there could be something there that, again, when we start to get into more insurance and different programs, that there can be some recognition. Like we have recognition of things. Like when we talked about we didn't just decriminalize and we didn't just, do expungements. We did talk about, rather, we talked a lot about decriminalization. We didn't talk about expungements, in the beginning, right? So we talked a lot about that, but we had that as a placeholder. Like, man, once this happens, like, decriminalization is not going to be good enough. We need to get this off of people's records. So that they held that there as an issue. And when the time came and it became something they could address, bam, they went right towards that, right? It's not the perfect system, but it's pretty good compared to the rest of the country. So when I think about it from that perspective, I think of like a voucher or something, just to put a plug in and hold it, and say once we start to really get into more of the medical side, we start to have insurance involved, and maybe there is something that can offset, particularly those who are registered or something like that. I don't know. It would be very, very complicated to just give the money back, but there may be something in there that the state could do, offset the cost
as long as they don't have it then for the general treasury.
Right on.
Because like this is what's getting stuff done, social equity, it's like having those deals, but there was never any deal in place. What to do with the money we already took?
Building the airplane as you're flying. That's what we did. We built the airplane as we're flying. We didn't want it to be perfect, and then we vote on it, right? So you start to just go through these.
Now, I'm just saying, to get home grow passed for patients, to have a bill heard, we shouldn't let request for perfection be the enemy of the goodness in that
100%,
bill,
dude.
but we need to know what good is in the bill before we know what's going on.
Separate issues there, for sure.
Look.
All right, yeah, good. But kind of separate issues there, because the home grow is a standalone. It's just a standalone. Like, that needs to be not wrapped into all this other crap that's out there. Like, that's access to medical access for patients, particularly those who have a very specific issue. And I think that's the educational part of things that has to happen with the decision makers, with the legislators, and your local communities. Is that there are very specific patients who have very specific needs, and just buying a bag of weed is not going to get the job done, right? And that's where education comes in. People just don't understand that. Again, I go back to Florida for a second. There's no freaking options. It's THC and maybe one or two that has CBD in it, and that's it. So it's for if you're there and you're the vast majority of the United States and you're a decision maker, you don't think that there's anything beyond smoking weed. So what's your problem, miss? I'm sorry you have a seizure disorder. What's your problem? Just go buy a bag of weed. That's not going to solve the problem.
And if you want to increase the patient registrations for cannabis patient, start getting those bills where PAAD and senior goals that are there and get passed out of committee, but don't get voted on. They stop. Now, if that were happening, like with other medicine, PAD, they may not pay the whole thing because that's like kind of different, but they do pay for Marinol and for Cheryl's prescription. They pay $2,200 per month for Marinol that, well, quite frankly, got traded for bud. What a circumstance.
With patients, we have made progress with like the bills with patients and getting like bipartisan support from across Jersey. And we have like, actually, you might know these guys a little more than I do, like Declan O'Scanlan of Monmouth County. We got Anthony Bucco of Morris County is there. We got Fingo Paul, Monmouth County guy, in a minute, who's been pushing the bill along with Troy Singleton. We got a lot of other guys. But I think we're at the time of the show. So thank you everybody for coming. It's really great having everybody. Have a great night. We'll be here till 5.